Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you? Welcome all of you to our physical week of Taurus. So apparently yesterday I did something that I don't like to do, of what I feel ashamed of. But anyway, it happened. Many people saw it, so it doesn't matter. Take a breath, and keep going on with my life. As I told you to begin this week, I remind you that in the beginning of this month, I told you that 3 different energies will be sharing with us this month, and they are the manifestors of matter, of reality, according to the Egyptian tradition. And of course, for this week, we have our great creator, Ptah. And before I explain what the god Ptah means, I would like to remind you that in my philosophy of life, I don't believe in gods. When I speak about gods, it's not that I believe that there are gods. It's that I call gods to the different attributes of the existence of the universe. Okay. So this is an idea. It's not exactly like this, but this is like how, like kind of an idea. Okay. So let's look into this kind of like that. So in order to see it in this way, Ra is like the divine that creates the concept of the divines called the Nun, which you can divide in air and water, that creates earth and skies. Geb and Nut creates the earth and sky, and they create Ptah. Ptah is the creator of all the things on earth, which divides itself into many pieces, which are the gods of the pantheon of Egypt. At the moment that, at the same time that the air, the water, Nun, Ra, they are like these concepts of creation, big pictures of the creation. So Ptah is the one that creates the parts of the creation. Okay, every part, from the gods that will create until all the realms of reality, of nature. So Ra is not the creator. Ra is the divine consciousness, okay, that it starts to be the creator incarnated in the concept of Ptah. So when you hear about Ptah, you will listen that he was the god of creation, that he was the god of the architects, he was the god of the artisans. But also you will listen that he was the god of darkness. And this is something that people maybe can say, oh my god, this is perhaps the god of darkness, so he was evil. No, it's not that. We can relate this god Ptah, the god of with the god that in Greece they call Hephaestus, and the Romans call Vulcano. These gods, the same one, were usually related to a blacksmith from hell. He was the one that was working with the junk, with creating swords and tools and so on. So related to the fire, related to lava, related to the inner world, because the inner world was the creation of all the things that are. So why is related with darkness? Because Ra is the aspect of divinity which is impossible to touch, intangible, is the one that is the essence, the consciousness, the light, the awareness. So it's impossible to touch, to perceive. And when this being materializes itself, it creates matter, physical, that projects shadows. So the physical aspect of the divine creates darkness, creates shadows. So this is why, from the point of view of ancient civilizations, Ptah was not the evil god. It was the god of the manifestation. And that's why they call it darkness, because it was the one that created things that give shadows, that produce shadows. Okay? So you get the idea? Perfect. So this god, Ptah, is the one that materialized the concept of the divinity of the subtle planes and brings it into materialization. So this means that all the concepts that were before around in the eternity now are going to be physical. They will have a structure. And of course, in order to do that, itself had to divide into different attributes, to put their attributes outside and materialize them with a shadow, with a light itself. So that's how it creates everything that we have in our reality. So this brings us that the creator, Ptah, manifests its attribute in the shape of, for example, sexuality, love, intelligence, communication, music, every one of the arts. So basically, all these kind of manifestations will be called gods or goddess, a divinity. But they are attributes of the entire world. So if we pay attention to how this works, it will be the system of fractalization. So the main god of creation divides into two other gods, one feminine, one masculine, and they divide in other two. So they create 4, and this 4, 8, and this 8, 16, and so on. Starts to fractalize constantly, once and again. So the attributes that the main god had split into billions of attributes in every one of the living beings. So this means that each one of us has the same attributes as the main creator, Ptah, that we are going to pass through to the next generations. Let's understand this picture. What are attributes? Because we say humans has attributes. What are the human attributes? We can think about love, wisdom, music, being a good person. Those could be different attributes of a person. But what are the basements of attributes? Attributes basically are emotions. When you go within, you understand that everything that you are doing is an impulse that comes from emotion. And what is an emotion? It's an energy moved by hormones in our body. From where the hormones come from? From the glands, from organs. So the organs are creating the impulse for our attributes. And what are the organs? Are conjunctions of molecules, cells, molecules that are atoms that interact energy that works through vibration. So you see from where it comes from. The whole universe has created through vibration and energy the organs that are the middle point to create the attributes into the matter, to manifest the attributes into the matter. Okay. Okay. So what we have here, all the lights, sorry. What we have here is the path that it takes for us to awaken the attributes that we call human attributes. So we have here the path of vibration. Vibration creates energy. Then the atoms produce cells. The cells create organisms connected to what we call chakra. And then the organ produces harmony, that produces emotion, that creates impulses, that awakens attributes. Okay? So in order to have attributes, the universe has created this whole path in which the organs materialize the attributes. The attributes would be just mental concepts in the universe if they are not going through all this process until materialize themselves. So the organs itself would be when we speak about materialization and materializing the divine into the matter, the ethereal into the physical, what we have is that chakra and organ, they join together to create like a passage, like a process that that enables the universe to manifest the divinity into the matter. So Ptah, as a concept, he found a way in which he could download the divine into the physical. So this makes us understand that not only in our bodies, but in the entire creation, there are spots from where all the subtle planes of reality can be downloaded in a conjunction towards the matter in the physical world. Okay? Places where you can download heaven on earth. In our bodies, we have the glands, the endocrine system, as a way to open the doors, okay, from the subtle to the physical. But in the earth, we have many, represented in mountains, in islands, in lakes. Those places is what we call nodes. The nodes of a planet, the nodes of a body, are places where the energy goes down in a spiral and goes up in a spiral, finding together in the center, creating a node of energy. So these are perfect places through where the heaven can go down into the earth, and places where the earth can go up into the heaven. The way in which ancient people could understand where are those places were following the birds. The birds, observing the skies, the clouds, and everything, they were like trying to picture the images of what these people could, these gods could download from heaven. So the birds were the first ones on notice that portal. How? Because they were in circles. So they were following the birds flying in circles. And if the birds repeat that, going very high and going down in the same spot once and again, what they could see is that the birds were telling you where are a portal to the gods, to the heaven. So that's why there were some priests that were just observing birds. Observing birds in Latin, you might say avis spictum. Avis spictum. That is the origin of the word auspice. Okay? Auspictum, to watch birds. Auspice, how do you say in English? I don't know the pronunciation. Auspicious, when someone gives money to someone to make him keep doing what that person is doing. People used to say that, auspicious. The people that auspice someone, like a sponsorship, let's say in English, is because that person sees that something is good in the future, that thing could be good eventually. Okay, so that's the word. Entonces esta palabra de auspicio también está relacionada a auspiciar el futuro. So this word auspicious is the one that is related to know the future, to know what is going to happen. A signal. So what these priests would do, they would follow the place where the birds were flying, and there in those places they would cut the trees, cut the mountain, prepare the terrain, so they could have a clear space, so they could see and communicate and receive the messages of the divine straight from the heaven. This place was called TEMPLUL. That means place made by cuts of trees or cuts of stones. So the reason why we add a P in the center is by pronunciation, because when you say many times TEMPLUL, 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 a P appears immediately. This is how we get the word temple. As you see here, this is how the word temple starts. Temple is not about a construction. A temple is basically a space that was open so the messages from heaven can be downloaded into the ground. So eventually, in those sacred places, the priests and priestesses started to use the feathers of the birds, condors, the eagle, the hawk, the ravens, the quetzal, vultures, all of them. They started to use all these feathers to decorate themselves, because it was the wisdom. The feathers were the wisdom of these portals. They were bringing the messages. So that's why eventually when they discovered the ink, they started to write with the feathers, because the knowledge of the divine came from the heavens through the feathers. You see how it came, the history of the feathers. So eventually the priests and priestesses started to stay in those spots. So people start to create a house for the priest to live there, so they could have a place to speak and communicate with the divines. And that's what we call a temple today. So eventually, with the pass of time, the temples became very important too, because the construction of the temples were the incarnation of the divinity. The shape of the temples, the intention that they had, the ways in which they had to be built, the inscriptions on it, the stones that were used, everything was downloading what the gods were representing, and suddenly the temples itself became holy. What we got about this connection with the divine is contemplation. Contemplation comes from the word temple. It's the action that we take all together to go into that temple to observe the skies, to contemplate. Contemplate means to get together to watch the skies, to go to a spot where you can contemplate the skies. Eventually, a lot of people stopped watching to the skies to receive the message, and they started to close their eyes in the shadows of the temple to see within, to contemplate in the inside. This takes us to meditation. So the temple is not exactly a place where you go and pray or meditate. It's a place in which you can contemplate from the middle point, both sides, one side here, the other side there. We relate temples today with the places where you can go and there is a construction. But actually, as we are looking now, as we are understanding now, a temple is a place of contemplation. It's not a place that is built. There are many temples, natural temples, as I said, in islands, in mountains, in lakes, in trees, and places that we call ethereal temples, that they are in other dimensions. So it doesn't mean that there is a temple with the shape of a human culture. It doesn't mean that there is a temple of crystals or whatever. It means that it's a place of contemplation. It means there is a place where you can go and observe outside and within. So now that we know what a temple is, remember that there are temples of many kinds, but all of them are to connect heaven and earth by observation, contemplation. So a temple is a place that was built to seek a spot to contemplate something. So it doesn't matter the religion. It can be a Christian temple as a church. It can be a synagogue for the Jews. It can be a mosque for the Muslim, a temple of Hinduism, Buddhism. It doesn't matter, because all of them were built with one intention, which is to contemplate, to observe the within between heaven and earth. So it doesn't matter in which one you go if you know this. Important to know that a house cannot be a temple unless the house was built and used mostly for contemplation. In a house, you do all your daily stuff, you do many things. It's not only about contemplation. The places, maybe in your house, you can have a room that is only for that, for contemplation. So that could be a temple, or maybe some tree in the garden. The idea of the temple is basically contemplation, to go within, to observe. So there are places that were precisely done for that, or with intention of just be that. So a place that was done for that is perfect to be a temple. So now we can understand that during our daily life, being unaware and conscious, our body is the body. But when we start to work with a consciousness to become aware, our body becomes a temple. And the body becomes a temple not because within we have the soul. It becomes a temple because we contemplate ourselves, attention to what we need or what we are. So this is why along this path in this next week, we will go through all the systems of our body to try to understand each part of it, each temple that we have within, in order to understand, to contemplate how every organ, every system in our body can be a door between the divinity and the matter towards divinity. Okay? So, as the last thing, in honor to Ptah, remind you what Egypt means. So, name of Egypt, Had Ka Ptah. Had Ka Ptah. Had is house, home, as in Hadhur. Ka meaning spirit, Ptah, the creator, the house of the spirit of creation. That's the name of Egypt, that the Greek people were not able to say Had Kapta, and they said Egyptos, Egypt. So here we are at the house of the spirit of creation, and by its body, the Nile, it created the path of initiation in every temple. Of course, Egypt was the ancient name that we have still, but in Egyptian, in Egypt, the country is called Misr. Misr is in Arab language. Okay, in Arab language they call it Misr. Misr means fortress. Okay, it's a place, construction, fortress. So Misr. Let's go to the information today. So speaking about the spirit of creation, Ka, today the sound is Ka, precisely, which is the word for spirits. So a detail of saying Ka, because it's not Ka. It's not Ka or Ha. It's Ka. The word Ka. You have to heat the palate, okay, very deep behind. That's how you say it properly. Ka. Why? Because in the ancient language, what you had to do with this was to heating the bone where is touching the hypophysis gland. Okay, so which is the crown chakra. So when you say Ka, you are moving that gland. You are like heating that gland, calling the spirit. Okay, so that's why, to know the difference, it's not Ka, it's Ka. Okay. The statement for today is: I am a channel between spirits.